The Ravens have to be happy they have one employee who is at least willing to sit down and negotiate a contract extension. John Harbaugh is. Lamar Jackson is not. And Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, was asked about that today, and he said unless he has a change of heart and calls Eric DeCosta, GM of the team, and says, I'm ready, but it's like Eric can't keep calling him and saying, hey, Lamar, you really need to get in here and get this thing done. Now, Bisciotti thinks that the kid is so obsessed with winning a Super Bowl that deep down he doesn't think he's worthy of a second contract. I think he wants to say, now I deserve to be on top. Well, you know what? If that's what he thinks, then he is going about it the wrong way. If that's a true assessment, that Lamar Jackson thinks, I don't deserve a second contract until I win a Super Bowl and I say I want to be making more money than anyone else, he's going to eventually, and he already is, risk losing everything, never getting the long-term contract, having his physical skills evaporate before he's ever in a position to get the contract he deserves. And he doesn't understand that doing an extension with a manageable cap number may actually help him win a Super Bowl. So he so desperately needs a good agent. He desperately needs good advice. If this were my son, my cousin, my nephew, anyone that I know, anyone that I care about, I would be saying, what are you doing? You're jeopardizing your financial future. You're risking your generational payday for something that makes no sense, whether it's I don't deserve it until I win a Super Bowl or, and this is the more strategic view, and I'm not sure he's thinking this way, I'm just putting in my 7 years in Baltimore and then I'm going to leave. I hope that's not his plan. I hope I don't want a Super Bowl or I don't want a new contract until I win a Super Bowl is his plan either. His plan should be, let's go in and get this done now. They're ready. Let's go do it.
Well, Mike, I mean, he should have done it last year. I mean, and there's a part of me that kind of understands the whole, all right, I'm putting in my 7 years of Baltimore, then I'm done, and then I'm going to go wherever I want, and I'm going to be on the open market, and I'm going to get this certain kind of contract, and da-da-da-da-da, right? I mean, that's what we could call the Kirk Cousins method, you know, but I don't think that that's the same sort of situation that Lamar Jackson is in, because Lamar Jackson is an MVP award winner. Kirk Cousins has never been close to an MVP award winner. Right? I don't even know if Kirk Cousins has ever received an MVP vote. Easy for me to say, throughout his entire career. Right? So when he was with Washington and he was doing what he was doing with the franchise tag and all that, it's a totally different situation. Lamar Jackson, like I said, won the MVP award in 2019. So that means you're in line to make over $100 million guaranteed, right? Get that done. And if you want to do something with the second contract or what have you, that to me, the third contract, then that's a little bit different, right? Where you decide, okay, I'm playing this out and then I'm done with Baltimore. But I think there are only a few shots at getting generational wealth. And the position that Lamar Jackson was in last year, where Josh Allen gets his contract extension and it was over 130 some million guaranteed. I don't have it in front of me. But if Josh Allen gets that, he's never won an MVP award, then you can be, if you're Lamar Jackson, to me, you go in to Eric DeCosta's office, Steve Bisciotti's office, and you say, well, listen, Josh Allen has this. I'm better than Josh Allen by a lot of metrics. And the fact that I have an MVP award and he doesn't. So give me a little bit more and let's get this done. And let's guarantee me some generational wealth. I mean, now that Deshaun Watson has gotten $230 million guaranteed, and he's another person who's never won an MVP award. Perhaps Lamar Jackson does have a little bit more leverage to walk into that office and say, well, he got that. I'm better. Give me this. Right?
Yeah, and I don't have 22 civil lawsuits hanging over me.
Exactly. So I think this is, if he played the percentages or played the risk or this is now the time to get it done. Right? I hope he does, because he's that good of a player. And I want players to get every single cent that they can ever earn. But this, to me, like I said, I would have done it last year, but he didn't do it. So now he can do it now. And I hope he does. I want him to get this done because, like I said, it's generational wealth. And if you don't do it and you continue to play and maybe you get hurt again, then that's where you're risking losing out on something like this. And I don't want that for him.
Two quick observations. Maybe not quick. We'll see how it goes. Number one.
They're not usually
and I've said this before, but I'm sorry. You talked so long, I forget what I was going to say. First thing I'm going to say. It
wasn't even about Baker Mayfield.
First thing I'm going to say. Now I forgot. No, I remember. He has the unique opportunity, if he wants to do it, to set up sit-down meetings with the top quarterback agents. Get the 5 top quarterback agents. Or 6 or 7, as many as you want. Draw the line wherever you want. But there are people out there. It's not hard to find out who they are. The quarterback agents, the people who represent the quarterbacks who have gotten the biggest contracts. Bring in those folks. Someone from CAA. Someone from Athletes First, like David Mulugeta. Todd France, bring him in, one after another. Tom Condon, bring him in. Sit down and run your strategy by those agents and pick their brains. You don't have to hire one of them, but you can hold court with them, and you can see what they think about what you're doing. And you can make sure that you're on the right track, or you can listen to their advice. And if all of them are telling you the same thing, if you hear the same thing from all of them, it may be worth listening to. And Miles, here's what I hope and pray isn't going on. Because I think that guys like Richard Sherman and Russell Okung, and I'm calling them out, whether they slap me in the face or not. Those guys got it in their head that they don't want to pay agents, and they don't like agents. And they're being penny wise and pound foolish. Because if you don't want to pay that 3%, and I hope this isn't what Lamar Jackson is thinking, I don't want to pay 3 or 2 or 1% of my gross take to an agent. I don't want to do that. Well, okay, fine. You're going to get 100% of a lot less than the 97, 98, 99% that you would get of what a good agent is going to get for you. And that is what this small minority of players, and thankfully it hasn't really spread, and they try to spread that gospel of no agent. They try their damnedest to get other players to go for, and you know what? There's 32 owners that hope it works, because they will jam the worst possible deals down your throat. The deal Richard Sherman did on his own for the 49ers was so bad, the NFLPA had to go in and tell the 49ers to fix it. That's how bad it was. When Russell Okung did his first deal with the Broncos on his own, it was embarrassing what the Broncos did to him. That's what happens when you are the one. Look, I don't know how to paint my house, so if I try to paint my house and save a little money, it's going to look like crap. That's why you got to do it. And if Lamar Jackson's focused on winning, stay focused on winning. Get someone else who's focused on getting you the best contract. But I hope he doesn't have it in his head, I don't want to give an agent X% of my take. I don't want to do that, because that's how you end up getting yourself into a spot where you never get the big deal that you should.
Well, when he was asked about the contract situation at the end of the season, basically what he said was, my entire focus right now is getting healthy. And to an extent, I understand that. I mean, as somebody who missed so much of the end of the season because of an ankle injury, yeah, of course, your first focus as a player, as a human, is I want to get healthy because I want to be at my peak so I can then go help the Ravens win a Super Bowl. But I think that just speaks to what your point is that there should be somebody in your corner. If it's not going to be you, then there should be somebody in your corner fighting for every single cent that you should get as one of the league's top players. And so if he's too focused on getting healthy, which again, like of course you're focused on getting healthy, right? But if you're going to represent yourself in one of these situations, I don't know what the strategy is, I guess what I'm trying to say, because he hasn't said what the strategy is, and that's fair. He doesn't have to. But at the same time, I think that he would benefit probably, unless like there's a bigger strategy that I just don't understand, and that's entirely possible. But like I said, if it were me, I would have wanted to get this done last year, because that's when you can get the first opportunity you have to guarantee yourself generational wealth. You probably should do it. And then, like I said, if you go to the third contract and you still want to make sure you maximize your possible entire value, fine, that's different. But I think if you can guarantee yourself generational wealth, you should take that opportunity. And I would have done that.
Absolutely, and he still should. And I have a feeling if he doesn't do it after this year, and look, I don't know what's going to happen. We never know what's going to happen, and that's part of the fun. At some point, though, the Ravens are going to get exasperated. And all it's going to take is one team with an F them picks mindset, like the Dolphins. Let's say the Dolphins decide after this year, 2-on, bear with me, because your team is better off potentially if this happens. Let's say that the Dolphins decide after this year that that Tua is not the long-term answer, and we've got Tyreek Hill, and we've got Jalen Waddle, and we've got a pretty damn good defense. We've got a coach who knows how to design a pretty good running game, and we'll go get Lamar Jackson. And the Ravens say, fine, you take him. You deal with a guy that won't negotiate a contract with you. Maybe he'll negotiate one with you. He wouldn't negotiate one with us. And maybe that's what he wants. I don't know. This mystery of Lamar Jackson is stunning and unprecedented in this age of quarterbacks getting their money when the window opens. If anything, it's the teams that resist doing the deal, not the players. This is the team saying, we are ready, we are willing, we are able. Please come to the table and negotiate with us. And they'll only put up with it for so long, and they'll move on. Eventually, they'll move on. They'll do it before Lamar Jackson puts in his 7 years. That's my prediction. They'll seize the initiative here and say, hey, Lamar, we've given you every chance you can to get this done. We're just going to trade you, and we're going to start over. We're going to go with Tyler Huntley until we get our next guy here, whoever it may be.
They're going to the highest levels of the organization. I mean, we're talking about a quote from Steve Bisciotti that came out today at the league meetings. So this is not something that usually happens where you have the team's owner saying, hey, please come to the table so we can give you this money. We can give you this generational wealth. You know, we can help change your life, your kids' lives, your grandkids' lives. Like, that's kind of what's happening here. And like I said, we don't know what the strategy is from Lamar Jackson, but it's pretty unprecedented when you have an owner basically saying, look, there's only so many times that our GM is going to call Lamar Jackson and say, hey, are you ready to discuss this? Because we're ready. We want to do this. Let's lock you in. And Lamar Jackson, for whatever reason, and again, we don't know what the strategy is, for whatever reason, he has not come to the table with them.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.